What's up, everybody? This is Ripples in Wales back for another video. Hope you're all doing well, having a great day wherever you're in the world and whatever you're doing. Happy Wednesday to you all. I'm sure most of you are heading to work. If you're not, you're on your Christmas holidays. Hope you're all having fun. Cool. Well, I found a few more things that I want to go through. There's some very interesting stuff to do with hooks, which I think is coincidental. We'll put it into that bracket, and it's definitely worth a quick look at. And okay, cool. If you haven't met before on the channel, this is my Twitter profile at Ripples in Wales. Please come and say hi on the in the Twitterverse, or the Xverse as everyone calls it now. Right, let's jump in. I want you to listen to a small excerpt by David Schwartz. This was released this year at the Apex Developer Conference Summit in Amsterdam. And what the Apex Developer Summit is, it's a get together of all the smart minds who are building on the XRPL. A lot of these chains have it. You know, you have everyone for every chain: Solana, Stellar, Ethereum, Bitcoin have them, and they're meetups where people share ideas, network, and talk about what they build. And David did the keynote speech in it this year, and I want to bring your attention just to a small, tiny thing that he said in the middle of it. Now, I re-listened to this yesterday, and I was looking at the rollout of the various proportions of amendments that are coming out from, you know, XLS 30 to XLS 55. I think you've got XLS 38. These are things like the automated marker maker, native ID on the chain, and what was the other one? I've forgotten what XLS 38 was. Anyway, it evades me. So you've got various amendments coming out, and there's also XLS 55, which is atomic settlement. So these are all things that they want to kind of break out onto either main chain or subchains, and they talk about these in the developer conferences. Anyhow, listen to this first few words that he says here, and he's all 8 minutes into his talk here. He's quite nervous to begin with, bless him. He's such an amazing mind, but he likes to roll kind of free in his speaking. Anyway, listen.
And lastly, thank you. Well, save your applause for the next thing I'm going to say, because I want to emphasize here that after a nearly 3-year battle with the SEC and the worst Christmas ever, the court has ruled, this is a federal court in the United States, has ruled that as a matter of law, XRP in and of itself is not a security. Yeah, that one. You can applaud all you want for that one. I mean, I can just sit down and let you guys applaud for the rest of my slot, because that was, that was an incredibly difficult 2.5 years. That was a dark, kind of a little bit of a dark time for us.
Pause. Okay, let's just quickly just transfer our eyes to this. The worst Christmas ever was his words, and a pretty dark time for us. You could see that in his body language and his eyes when he talked about it. And the worst Christmas ever, I mean, some things you just don't need too many more things said about it. But, you know, it was left there in an open text for you all. The worst Christmas ever. And everything goes down to a Christmas scene, doesn't it? And I'll leave you that. I'm not saying David Schwartz is BG123. What I'm saying is there is, and Brad Garlinghouse has said almost the same words to this extent. So that's the first thing interesting. I want to kind of bring that to you. Okay, cool. Let's have a quick look at this. So I want to bring you to, this is the Bearable Guide 123 page. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. If you're watching these videos, you'll have had your introduction to all this, so I don't have to go over all this in the beginning senses with you all. But anyway, we're looking at his likes, and we're looking at the very first like that I got from him back in what was it? It was April the 23rd, 2021. Interesting. 231. Okay, cool. And this is where I figured out that you had hooks involved in this equation. And I just put like that up, 3 you clever bear hooks. And, you know, I was referring to the X, or the shield with the X on it. And I had to do some digging to understand that. I was like, okay, I went on to the XRPL.org, and I was looking up various different things. I just typed in hooks, and I found a part of their page which had showed this like GitHub repository of information how people could play around with these things called hooks. And back in 2021, this wasn't very well talked about, and certainly in 2020 it wasn't at all. And hooks were not a thing at all. They enabled smart contracts on the XRPL, and clearly they weren't sure of how they were going to roll this out. They've now subsequently decided not to do it on main chain, which is kind of normal, it seems, these days with the horizontal scaling models rather than the vertical stacks people are going for, chains are going for. But it took a bit of digging to get there, and I wanted to kind of bring you down a little road as to where I found this X on the shield and where it leads us to now. And I started doing some looking into kind of ancient X hook and ancient history and symbology, and it brought me to this page, I believe, at the time. And I opened up this link here by Carla Atkins, and it was called the Hooked X, okay? And it brought us up into a page here. And I'm going to try and cut a long story short here, but it's a very ancient symbol used by early settlers in the United States to symbolize cryptographic information. The Knights Templars were believed to have used it in the hidden meanings to pass on information. This article is well worth reading if you want to have a. There's an article regarding, Christopher Columbus, which is very interesting. Ships sailing, hooked X's. Yeah, Templars. The Knights Templars were the defenders of the realm. Yeah, so there's real strong connections between here, and you've got, the Templars believed to be the ones who carved the hooks into the Kensington runestone. This was early cryptographic ways of keeping secrets. The Templars were the protectors of early pilgrims and early royalty. Now, I come from a part of the world where we know an awful lot about knights and the Templars. A lot of this began in the country that I live in, and we have probably the largest history in the world on it. You'll have heard of the head of the Round Table, which was King Arthur. Okay. Now, there is a very there are enormously strong connections to King Arthur to where I live. His sword is in one of our lakes. He was a Welsh king, not an English king, so we need to clear that up. And by that time, Wales was an enormous kingdom that covered the whole of Cornwall, up past the Lake District, Cumbria. Yeah, the Welsh word for Wales is Cymru, and an area north of where we are here is called Cumbria. And Wales covered an enormous area of land. Anyway, the Knights Templar and the Round Table of Knights, as you know, was all the history was steeped around King Arthur, and that is where I live. It's right in the heart of Wales, or the northwest corner of Wales, and so we know an awful lot about this kind of ancient symbology and the protecting of the wealth, the kingdom, the Welsh royals, and also the druids, the bards, and the ancient knowledge lineages. This is where it all comes from. But if we're going to go concentrate on the hooked X here, so we know that in symbology it was connected to the Knights Templar, and you guys can go on your own journeys and search this up. So we know recently, we're going to jump now into kind of the modern day. We can see that, that's where I got the original for with the knight holding the red shield with a hooked X. And, the Knights Templar were defenders of the realm. Okay, we can go back and forth using what the depiction of a metaphor of a knight is. They were the defenders of also the lineages of Jesus Christ and others who they defended what we call the Sangreal, which was the Holy Grail, which was the berry. Either you can look at it whichever way you want to look at it. You can look at the defending of the lineage of that family, or you can look at the defending of the bones of Mary. And there's a strong story I've got to tell you in the future about the passage of that family moving from Jerusalem up to the island where I live. And there's plenty of information to prove that a lot of them migrated here under the movement of a man called Joseph of Arimathea, tin merchant, who was a frequent visitor to our island. Another story for another time, people. But anyhow, we will look at this knight and the shield and the hooked X, and we will look at present day. We're just about to see the rollout of hooks now on a side chain called Xahau. And Xahau is in its own network created by XRPL Labs, who are the kind of the creators of the Zum wallet and the infrastructure around custody and wallets on the XRPL. But they're also big builders. They're Ripple helps fund them, and they are the I guess almost you'd call them the core. You've got the XRP Ledger Foundation, you've got XRPL Labs, which are the core. Anyhow, we've also had just 2 or 3 days ago the snapshot of this Evernode platform, which is the very first platform to take these hooks onto the XRPL on their own sidechain. They're an Australian company, and they're going to be using the smart contract functionality with hooks on the Xahau network. So if we just take this back a step and we look at the knight and where he's placed, and the shield and where it's placed. We've just had the rollout of what are we on, December the 13th now, and we haven't had the hooks go live. But in the Christmas scene, you've got the knight positioned in January of 2024 when the hooks are going live with the hooked shield. The time is absolutely, he's nailed it with this one, and I kind of hadn't thought about it until yesterday when I looked at it and I thought, wow, yeah, of course hooks is going live, and here is the knight stood with his hooked shield for January 2024 when all this stuff is going to go live. So that was the first thing, and I thought that was rather remarkable. If you're unaware, the original hooks that I got the Lycon was from the castle scene in the centre here, and that's where it all began. But we can see that the hooked shield is in January of 2024, which again, another massive synchronicity. What else did I want to bring you today? We're going to keep this kind of short and sweet today. Yes, okay, a quick look at this. And I want to bring you into a little bit of a riddle. This is on the XRP Riddler Archive. And it says this is an early explanation that BG123 did to understand what these riddles were, if you understand it. A king was born without a tongue to share his future plans. The rule of power belongs to you who can break the scepter in his hands. Now, when you can see in the castle scene, you can see, as we've seen, that the scepter is in the king's hand, and that picture comes from here. And at the minute, he's had the broken scepter, which means the power has been kind of taken away from him. It also says, I beg your pardon, hold on 1 second. It also says, the jester will laugh at those who mock and doubt his hidden works. For if you follow the eyes of the king, your wealth will match his worth. Now, you've always got to keep an eye on both BG and the king's eyes. And I just want to bring you to an interesting little thing here. And so take a screenshot of that if you want. We can look at the scepter. In this scene now, it's in the fire, okay? So the king's got a bit of a problem here, as you can see. So you've got the scepter, which is just sitting in the fire underneath where the phoenix is likely to rise once you have your regulations. But the more interesting thing is now the king's got a spanner in his hands, and the spanner is the people that he controls in these organisations, which is the SEC, that disgusting scumbag corporation of entities that is likely to cause chaos in the cryptography space, or the crypto asset space. And who's to know whether in fact they're working on the good side or the bad side, because we've seen the fact that they had been cut, the strings had been cut, so it may be theatrics. This is what I'm tending to think about these things. Anyway, the thing I wanted to bring your eyes up on was this picture, this part of the picture here, the bear's eyes, the prosperity symbol, and liquidity. Okay, and you've got, if you're quite canny, can I zoom out? Oh no, you can see his finger there is on the fourth tooth, and he's got 2 there. And I'm taking this to mean 2024, which is the Swift reset. If you're unfamiliar with this is the reset of Swift. Okay, which kind of, this is, if you look at the castle, this is 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and you've got the Nostro release. Cobalt isn't a thing anymore, but there'll be different software that will replace that. So by 2023, we look like we're going to see, maybe, I don't know, it's just guessing at this point, but you've got 4, 5, 6, liquidity and COMEX. Now, this is the interesting thing, is that liquidity, the eyes, prosperity, and liquidity are all in line with the 589. And one thing I will bring you, if you're unaware of what Swift is, it's a combination of messaging, liquidity, and Nostro, and you've got the liquidity and Nostro either side of Swift, which I believe will be part and parcel of XRPL's kind of main, we'll call it revenue streams. a lot of people are going to say that, you know, that Swift isn't going to be using any settlement tokens on the XRP, and that they're going to be using R3, or neither of them are going to be using that. I say different. Let's just watch and see it play out. I'm fairly certain on some level they'll be using the XRPL or the token, the XRP, on their private chains somehow, all integrated with these. It's all semantics at this point. You know, Swift or R3 sitting on 1 billion XRP. I dare say Swift is as well. And, you know, at some stage, these larger entities are going to have to find their way to interoperate with the world's monetary systems, and they will have to utilize some ledgers. Whether that things have changed or not, I don't know. Anyhow, keep your eyes on that. 2024 liquidity Swift reset, and we know this is, you know, the Swift adjustment is occurring right underneath our eyes and feet now. Anyway, so the hooks going live, Swift adjustment 2024. We're going to leave it there for now. I hope that's given you another little insight into these riddles, very complex things. Please drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and whoa, my Twitter's going crazy here. And also drop a comment. It'd be good to hear from you all. Don't know what's going on my Twitter channel here. It's going crazy. Cool. I hope you have a great Wednesday, whatever you're doing, and look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Be blessed.